Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad you're here. Why not relax and listen to a story or two? It's a story about our vagabond life. From getting the RV, doing renovations, getting legal, and finally getting on the road a little bit. The renovation is moving forward, if slowly, from the back of the wheelie house on toward the front. We've got the bathroom and the bedroom pretty much fixed up. Now it's time to move to the center of the wheelie house and take a look at the table and the very uncomfortable bench seating that goes with it. And that's where the couch bed becomes interesting. After the demolition, the slide out where the booth used to be was nothing more than a blank slate. I sort of had moved everything and kind of destroyed everything, taking it apart. Um, Originally, but I did keep the table. Originally, we thought we'd like to have something that was comfortable, nice, could hold some extra storage. But I wasn't really sure quite what to make. Wendy worked on this problem as well. She thought something soft, like a pillow, might work. She searched and shopped and shopped and searched. Anything, everything needed to be the right dimensions, and there just weren't that many options. Finally, she found something called a couch bed. And yes, that's actually a trade name. It's more or less two firm pieces of foam uh, put together with a covering. When the uh, when the big piece is setting down and the little piece is flipped up, it works kind of like a couch. You could probably see the couch right here. And when you flip this back piece over, like this, it becomes a bed, which is kind of nice. We thought we'd actually try it, so Wendy bought it, and we actually slept on it. It actually sort of works, kind of surprising. So, using Wendy's couch bed, we started to redesign the booth area in the slide out. The couch bed is just a little bit too big to fit in this space here, which is perfect because that means the couch bed is held in place really nicely whenever we go rumbling down the road. Um, and if we ever want extra sleeping, we can just flip over the back and we have another place to sleep. We've never actually tried that yet. I guess we should do it at some point. Well, long ago, I worked at an airport fixing radios. Part of this work was to install new radios inside of these airplanes. The planes are made with oval openings along the ribs. I learned that this was to keep the weight down while not compromising strength. Interesting. No doubt, I could use the same idea to keep the platform for the couch bed light and strong. So, using a jigsaw and a palm router, I went at it. I cut out these pieces, took out all that extra, I guess it was half-inch plywood, and then I sat on it hard. How about that? It actually held up and works. I suppose those engineers designing aircraft ribs really do know something about what they're doing. I placed, no, I put pieces of the platform together using cross lap joints. I guess that sounds really complicated, but it really is pretty easy. And it doesn't require a bunch of special screws and a pocket drill jig, which I didn't have. And frankly, I was just too cheap to buy one. The downside of this idea is that the construction isn't easy to take apart. So I better get it right the first time. The platform has two areas. The front is a little smaller and the back is a bit larger. The idea was that it'd be easy to stick often used stuff underneath the couch bed in the smaller area, so it'd be easy to get in and get out. Well, the back area would be great for sort of deep storage. Just pick the couch bed up, open the door, and off you go. There is a lip to hold a set of legs. I used piano hinges to do this in the front of the couch bed. And you just fold out these legs and you can flop over the back of the couch bed and you have a place to sleep. Inside the platform is already some 120 and 12-volt wires. So I just use those, splicing into them to put outlets here on either side and some 12-volt chargers on either side, USB style. So all I had really to do was just put in the fixtures and wire it up. It wasn't really hard. Um, the couch bed has open areas, like right here, on either side. When you put the bed part up, those areas get filled by these arms on the back. So what to do with that? Well, I decided to make some sort of like end table things. Well, that kind of works okay, but it really comes to the fore when you put the couch bed in the bed mode. These sort of end tables flip over, lay down on the ground, and actually put some pretty good strength in the extended part of the platform so you can sleep easy. Long ago, I saw somebody who was making furniture out of PVC pipe. Interesting idea. So I used that to make um, these end table like things. And it actually does work pretty well. I was, positively surprised. Of course, you got to do some painting because the PVC is all marked up with what it is and so forth and so on. Still, the approach seems to be useful and it is strong enough to actually sleep on. Like I say, if we ever get around to doing it. Well, moving on, around this slide out area was a bunch of heavy oak molding. I don't know, it was big stuff. I just didn't really think it was very pretty. So I took it all out. Behind it is like inch plywood of a kind I've never seen before. So I decided to round off the corners of this inch plywood and clean it up, and I figured I'd just paint it white. It was kind of interesting trying to cut off those corners. There's just not a lot of room between the slide out and the roof above, or the ceiling, I guess, above. So I had to use a coping knife to cut through that wood, that plywood. Actually, the strange plywood is kind of light and easy to cut, so it really wasn't that big of a problem. And of course, there was plenty of sanding to get it to look decent. There were cabinets on top of the slide out, and they were kind of a mess. I ended up just trashing them. I built new cabinets and put them in place. Then I put in some leftover plastic mirror that I had. And Wendy said it looked okay, so, you know, if you get that kind of approval, it's all good. The table, which I'm sitting on right now, that came with the wheelie house was heavy, made out of MDF, and water damaged. So I decided to take it out. Worse than that, when I tried to use it as a template, it just didn't fit right. So in the end, I bought some cabinet grade half-inch plywood. Man, that was expensive. And cut out a piece that would be the new table. I just wanted to make it just as long as I could so there'd be plenty of room. Since I could cut off one end of this 4x8 sheet of plywood, I used the full 4 feet to put it together. And then I put on all of this Gianni countertop paint and all that, what is it, 7 coats of paint that you have to put on. And it looks just fine. And that's when I learned I am not an interior decorator. You can manage to wiggle between this new table and the seat of the couch bed, but it's not really all that easy. If I'd have made this thing even 6 inches shorter, it would have been much easier to get in and get out. So maybe someday I'll go ahead and fix it. But for right now, I'm leaving it like it is. Whenever I turn around, face the right side of the wheelie house, I see the kitchen. It's just directly opposite of the table here. There's water damage there too, and that's going to be the next renovation project. When I look, I wonder how much more destruction is going to be required to get the kitchen right. But that's another story.